Hi, and welcome back to the channel and this week's episode of Project OZTOG. This week, we're going to look at our kits and what makes our kits up. So let's dive into it, guys. Quick introduction. I'm Rob.
And I'm Chris.
And we're Project OZTOG. Let's start. So Chris, what do you put in your kit? What do you use in your everyday kit?
Yeah, so for my everyday kit, I have a Sony a7 III that I use for video, and I have a Canon 6D Mark II that I use for stills.
Okay.
So I use the 6D for stills because it doesn't have as good of video features, whereas the a7 III has better video features. The only kind of downside I don't like about that is that it doesn't have a full rotating screen, but that's all right. We can kind of flip around interchangeably with the 6D since that has the rotating screen. Pretty much my key lens is like either like a 16-35 or a 24-70. Those are pretty much my two key lenses that I use. And then other accessories, I also have a Gorilla Pod, as well as I think I have a three-legged thing tripod, and pretty much along with a microphone, a Rode microphone, shotgun mic. That's pretty much what I use for just about everything.
You have the Video
What about
Pro,
yourself?
don't you?
Yeah, the Video Pro, but I think the Pro Plus is a better one.
Okay.
But yeah, that's yet to come.
You've successfully kind of morphed or combined a DSLR kit and a mirrorless kit.
Yeah.
Do you have a preference for either camera?
Not really. Like I said, like if the Sony had a rotating, fully articulating / rotating screen, then that would be kind of more ideal for me. Yeah. But it gets by. But yeah, I find they both work relatively well. I find, funnily enough, the Canon kind of goes through more battery when I have used it for video. Which is kind of strange because generally DSLR batteries have a bit more juice in them. Yeah. But maybe it's just that the Sony is more sort of optimized for video, since that's kind of where Sony is at as far as like their specs on that camera.
Well, I actually have two kits. So I have a DSLR kit.
Yeah.
So I shoot Nikon. So I have a D850 kit with an 810. In that kit, my lenses are generally, I have a 28mm, a 50mm, an 85, 105, 24-70, and 7200. So pretty much all the focal range is covered. Most of my lenses are the 1.8 or 2.8, with the 50mm being 1.4. So it gives you that variety. I've also got a 15mm, but I don't carry that everywhere. That's pretty much just for Astro. Yeah. And my mirrorless kit is a Z6 and a Z6 II. Now, I've made the choice to keep those kits kind of separate and not merge them together. However, I do really enjoy using the 850 a lot, and also merging that with like one of the Z6s. I think that works really well. But my mirrorless kit, Z6 II, Z6, bunch of lenses, like a 50mm, 24-70, but I use the f4 version. FTZ, for I can use all my F mount glass on there as well. It's also an 85 I use regularly on that as well. So really nice kind of lightweight kit, works really, really well. And they're kind of my everyday kits. If I go shoot, they're what I take, what goes with me, I guess, to the jobs. Now, I don't really do much video. Most of my stuff is stills. So yeah, I find that I probably lean towards more the mirrorless nowadays, but I still really like getting out the 850. The 850 is probably the best camera I've ever used in regards to DSLR or mirrorless. Things are beast, but the Z6 II is amazing. In-body stabilization and stuff like that.
Yeah, stabilization difference, doesn't it?
Yeah, definitely.
What do you prefer as far as the DSLR versus mirrorless?
At the moment, I prefer mirrorless, and it's something that when I first started shooting mirrorless, and they have a lot of technology in them. But my preference was for the mirrorless after I never bought the mirrorless with the intention of using it for jobs. I kind of bought it with the intention to kind of work its
Play
way
around
into
with
the
it.
kit eventually.
Yeah,
Because I really like the 850 and the 810, and they're all doing really, really well.
definitely. I was going to say
So
the 810 is kind of an older camera.
it
Why do you keep
is.
that 810 around?
I just think it works. It works well to have two DSLRs. So before that, I had an 810 and an 800. So it
Yeah,
kind of, I like to have a main body and a secondary body. Now, some people will say that bodies should both be the same, and yeah, it works out really well when they are both the same. But having, one of the current one and one previous one, I find works just as well for me. However, I will
okay.
say with the mirrorless, the only reason
Yeah.
I prefer mirrorless now is strictly because I can compose using the rear screen. And I find that really
Mm.
breaks rapport with, if I'm doing a family shoot, that breaks rapport less than looking through the viewfinder.
Mm.
Um, I used a camera once for a job, and I found for that job, all the rapport I had with the family for their posed family shot, I was able to put the camera on a tripod, lower it down to where I wanted it to, use the screen to compose, and really maintain eye contact with the family. So I found that was really invaluable, and that's kind of why I've gone the mirrorless route now. So
Yeah.
that's my number one kit. Yeah, that's a kit I have with me most of the time. If I go do a job, it's now all mirrorless.
I mean, if you're taking all that kit, that's a lot of kit to take to one job. Do you find
I
you use it all?
I have very much two separate kits. The DSLR and mirrorless gear never go both at the same time.
Okay.
Um,
Yeah,
so it would
that
be
makes
the
sense.
mirrorless kit or the DSLR kit, and even then,
Yeah.
I'll break the kit further down. So depending what the job is, I may just take one body,
Yeah.
and that's just fine to go with. Depends. So today I went and did some recon of some shooting locations for the future.
Nice.
Sydney's coming out of COVID restrictions soon, so I'm starting taking bookings again. So I just wanted to go check out a few places where I want to shoot. I only took one body. I took a 28mm lens on an 850. Worked out really, really well. Really easy combination, and yeah, it felt really natural. The weather was not the best, so it was easy to have the 850 out. It's such a robust camera. Did the job, got back, was able to check the photos. Really happy with the spots I found. So
What do you think of the 28 mil? Because that's obviously quite a unique kind of focal length.
yeah, I actually have the mirrorless version for my Z6
Yeah.
and my Z6s, and also I have the F mount version for my 850. I really like 28mm. I find that it's not quite as wide as a 24mm, but it's a bit more
Yeah.
versatile. It's right in between the 35 and a 24 for me, so it works
Mm.
really, really well.
I was going to say, why not just take the 24 to 70?
That's a good question. The 28mm is much more compact prime.
Yeah.
Yeah, actually,
Just
my
very
F mount
compact.
one is a 2.8. So taking
Yeah.
a 24 to 70 2.8 would have the same advantage. The one on the mirrorless is an F2, so only
Yeah.
slightly ahead. But really, the reason I take it, it's just so much smaller and compact and lighter than a 24 to 70.
Yeah. No, that's fair. The 24-70 is a bit of a beast of a lens.
Yeah. So
Yeah, no,
you have two lenses in your kit, right? You main lenses.
pretty much. Yeah.
How do you go without a long focal range? So like without a 70 to 200, for example.
Yeah, that's kind of that's kind of something that I kind of have to work on, but at the same time, I generally just end up trying to get like in close with my feet rather than standing from a distance.
Yeah.
I just find that I mean, obviously it depends on what I'm shooting, but if I just get in close, like just by moving in close, I can find that I get a bit more detail. Whereas if I'm shooting from far away, then maybe the detail I'm shooting with is kind of a bit lost.
Yeah.
But that's just what I found so far. Yeah. There have
Fair
been a
enough.
few times I've been put out and I'm like, damn, I wish I had I wish I had to sort of tele zoom, but you work with what you got.
Yeah. So both our kits have DSLR elements still in the kits, right? So mirrorless are definitely, the current generation of cameras are more mirrorless rather than DSLR. So what features do you think are attracting you more to mirrorless and pulling you towards the mirrorless range?
Yeah, I think for me, probably one of the biggest features, well, I would say the top three for me actually would probably be fast and reliable autofocus. stabilization, and then probably size, I would say. Obviously, for me shooting video, especially having some of the previous cameras I had, I found that the autofocus would more often not miss what I was trying to focus on. And especially if I'm doing like my vlogging, or if I'm doing that kind of video where I'm maybe shooting as well as being in front of the camera, you just need something that's reliable, that knows where your face is or where your eye is. And that, for me, that's what I really like about Sony, is that even though I can't see the back screen, I know that it's going to have relatively good eye and face autofocus. So I just find that if I know that the camera is going to be able to pick that up fast and efficiently, then that's just a dream come true, right?
The mirrorless are much better at focusing for video, and they're a lot more silent, aren't they? So I know with DSLR, like when I tried video with a DSLR, it was just loud and clunky. You really heard the lens focus, and trying to shift focus really quickly. Yeah, they could do it, but geez, it was just loud. It was like, that mode will work. So
yeah. Well, that's the other thing. Like I started on a DSLR way back when, and I just remember even with the basic kit lens, you still hear in the mic of the AF in the lens or in the camera, and I was like, oh my god, this is terrible.
Yeah, and even when you had off-camera microphone, like when you use that shotgun mic, it's still audible. So
it is. It's terrible, and I kind of learned that relatively fast. And I was just like, you know what, we need to cut this out and find either another way to record sound, or just get a better body or a better lens. I think I went through 2 or 3 lenses before I ended up upgrading the body, because I was like, you know what, this is too much hassle.
Yeah, no, that's fair enough. I agree. I think my experience trying to shoot video on a DSLR, which I wanted to keep the audio for, was just impossible. You might as well just record it with another recorder, then come back later. So.
And I actually went through a phase where I tried recording it in like full manual focus.
Yeah,
it was just way too hard. Even if you're just sitting down and doing talking head stuff, even if you were shooting a F11 or something, or if you wanted to get some nice detail and sort of make the face nice and sharp, it was just a total nightmare, because if you sat too forward, if you sat too back, you're out of focus, and then everyone moves their head when they're talking, so it wasn't worth it. And long story short, was not worth it.
I look, after trying it a few times on DSLR, I think that's kind of what made me go, oh geez, maybe video is not for me, maybe it's still photography all the way. But with mirrorless, it's much easier to get into, especially with, like, to be honest with you, drones got me in the video more than my mirrorless cameras have. Drone is such an awesome, it's just such a next level video. It just helps you so much, and drone has made me fall in love with video a little bit. So my DJI Spark, just makes video so much easier and does everything I want to do with video. So it's perfect.
I was going to say, like, it's just insane thinking of how far drones have come in like such a relatively short time frame. Like, I think it was only about probably 4 or 5, maybe 6 years ago that DJI released sort of the first or second gen drone. Yeah. And since then, it's just come leaps and bounds. It's like, wow, mind is blown. But as far as the other 2 features go, sort of something that goes hand in hand with the autofocus for me is stabilization. And again, just coming from DSLR that had very little to no stabilization, where stabilization is at now, even more entry level cameras, man, it blows my mind.
I guess for myself, it's that stabilization one is number 1 for me. Like IBIS in-body stabilization is huge. Like the fact that I can use like my 28mm or something like that from a prime that I used to use on my F-mount glass, and it becomes stabilized on the Z body, is mind-blowing. That's just such a huge feature. I think that stabilization is awesome in body. It's just next level.
Yeah. The other thing as well is that even on mirrorless cameras, the autofocus, like the sound of the autofocus motors, is just so quiet compared to DSLRs. that to me, like I used to shoot on a Panasonic
Mhm.
before I had the Sony, and I think that was probably my first. I think that was my first mirrorless actually,
Mhm.
and I was just like when I first picked it up and put the lens on it, I listened and I was like, "There's no sound. This is incredible."
Yeah,
So
yeah.
yeah, that's kind of what got me hooked.
Yeah.
But what about yourself, Rob? What are your kind of favorite features for
Um,
a still shooting?
I guess the things I like the best would be not look. I don't think there's any issue with DSLR focusing, and I use my focus system on my Zeds very similar. So even when I had I actually had Panasonic mirrorless first. I had the G85 and the G9. Awesome cameras for micro four thirds. Exactly, that made me kind of fall in love with mirrorless a little bit as well in regards to the in-body stabilization.
Yeah,
Massive. Um, just that alone would make me change the mirrorless. That in-body stabilization, the fact I can the rear screen and kind of what you see as you change the dials affecting the exposure. Like I
yeah,
said, for what I do with family portraits and stuff like that, kind of having that immediately being able to compose using that screen and having a decent size like screen to compose with and not have to break that rapport with the client, I found for how I shoot much easier. Um, so those two
it's funny, isn't
features
it?
are my two.
The
Yeah.
I was gonna say the one thing that always like blows my mind is going from mirrorless, we have to shoot everything to the viewfinder more or less,
Yeah.
to going from say
DSLR.
to mirrorless
Yeah.
to be able to shoot off the back screen. Like I don't know if I'm the only one, but basically I only use a back screen now. Whereas with DSLRs, I would never use a back screen. I'd shoot everything to the viewfinder.
Yeah.
Like,
I
is
think,
anyone else like that? Or is it just me?
well, I think I'm 50-50 now. Like if I'm out doing my own thing with it, like doing landscapes or seascapes or something like else other than family portraits, even shooting weddings, I will
Mm,
still use my viewfinder probably 90% of the time.
mm.
Like I like the ability
Yeah,
to be able to zoom on it. So I can, press the little
mm,
plus button and be able to zoom in and make sure I have focus on the mirrorless. That's probably the
yeah,
third feature I love the most. And the fact I can do it
yeah,
through the viewfinder is like bang, next level, especially when you're shooting landscape. And a
yeah.
way to make sure you got spot on focus for those bridal portraits. Being able to do that is awesome. Yeah, I could do it in live view on the 850, but not through the viewfinder. So that's kind of
Yeah.
one area I think it's really improved.
Game
Um,
changer, right?
yeah, well, those three things for me in particular, like the stabilization, the better compose off the rear screen, and being able to zoom and stuff through the viewfinder, huge. But I still find looking for the viewfinder natural. I mean, I've shot for 20 years, and most of that has been with film or a
Mm.
DSLR. So viewfinder is kind of natural for me, but yeah, I feel very comfortable composing with some of my workflow with the rear screen.
Yeah, yeah. It makes life a whole lot easier, right? Like it means you don't have to keep looking up and going, okay. And the thing coming from DSLR as well, again, this has come a bit more of a way since I shot with DSLR, but
Yeah,
with mirrorless, um, you can basically just go click, yep, there's a shot. Whereas with DSLR, you kind of have to do like a bit of um, oh, it's too much, too bright, or oh,
yeah,
now it's too dark, oh, my shutter speed's too long. Whereas with mirrorless, you basically on your back screen, like you said, what you see is what you get.
yeah, yeah,
With the exception of long exposure, you just basically go, oh, it's too dark, adjust the shutter speed, adjust the ISO,
yeah,
whatever, and
definitely.
then bang, you got it.
Yeah, like I learned over the course of a while with my DSLRs that when the light meter is spot on, the way I like to shoot is a little bit over. So I tend to put it just a little bit over, and that works out well. But I still have to take the initial shot when I walk in somewhere and go, yeah, okay, it's still consistent. To make sure the lighting's consistent and stuff like that. With the
Yeah.
mirrorless, so you can kind of see it. So yeah, I can definitely see that point. Um, the other thing I like about mirrorless though is like you touched on focus and how good focus is. When you see stuff like the new R3 from Canon being able to track vehicles and stuff,
Yeah.
that technology is really exciting. Like, yeah, okay, we can all do, or most people can do car photos and stuff without having that technology now. But that technology just makes life so much easier.
Yeah.
So yeah, stuff like that. And I really like I love photography, but I'm also a bit of a tech nerd, so seeing them push that barriers of tech, just
Yeah.
I love it. So I
I
want to
think
get one and play with one. Yeah, definitely.
Yeah, I think the craziest thing is thinking how far I like animal autofocuses has come,
Yeah,
because again, probably what it wasn't even that it wasn't that old, I guess, but in the last probably 2 3 years, the animal autofocus has just come so far. Like it's come from basically nothing to, I think, Sony putting in their, I keep mentioning Sony, I'm not a Sony fanboy, but it's just because they could kind of put AI in one of their cameras to pick up on what was actually animal and what was not animal, so that it better tracks the animal in the image when it's capturing it.
Even
Like that kind of stuff.
even white
Like how does that
balance,
even?
like even white balance, having multiple white balance options is
Yeah, that's true.
you know I know people who like, I'm guilty of it as well. I lived in auto a lot of the time, but now when you go to auto, you have warmer warms and cooler colds and neutral. I'm like, okay, wow, cool. And then you go to ambient light. It's just got so many more now. I'm like, okay, this is they're saying they put some serious technology behind these cameras.
Yeah,
Just so cool. And I think the next
but like
generation, the
thinking
generation
about,
after, are going to be huge.
yeah, I was going to say, thinking about where the technology is at now and thinking about where it'll be at in 5 years, 10 years,
Yeah.
15 years. You just, like, for me, I just can't even imagine what they're going to be able to do with the cameras in that stage. Like, how can they make it better? Like, they make it a larger sensor, I guess, and they increase the ISO limit to 10 trillion or something. I don't know.
Like they've made big, like they've got medium format cameras, like the GFX and the Vlad, like they're bigger sensor cameras that are basically, they were around before the current Canons and Nikons and the generations of Sony's. They were some of the first mirrorless, and they're they're awesome and people still get them. And they cost a lot of money, but what you get with them is a bigger sensor, better low light performance, better ISO performance. So the GFX, the Fuji, I think is probably becoming more commonplace, rather than a DSLR for some people, rather than a normal mirrorless now. So I think that's
I
a
think
really
it's
option.
definitely something that people are more looking at these days. Like I was speaking to a few photographers a while back, and the topic of the GFX comes up as it does in most photographers' conversation, and they're basically saying it gives you a point of if you're going to buy it for work. Whereas if you're hiring other photographers, they'll be like shooting on a DSLR or shooting on a mirrorless. If you get a GFX, you can say, I'm shooting on a medium format camera. I'm sure your client won't care, but at least everyone else around you knows you are.
Yeah, look, I think sometimes your client might not know, and that's the beauty of it. Like people who aren't into photography just know it's a nice picture and they'll buy the picture anyway, regardless of what it was shot on, right? They have no idea. But when you start getting people who know photography and they understand that you can zoom into the finite detail on your picture now at 100% or beyond that, to me, that's really, really huge. Or look at a picture and go, well, okay, it's detailing your shadows and detailing your highlights and just how many dynamic range stops that is. Again, that's huge, right?
Yeah, 100%. 100%.
All this technology, right? Cameras are still basically cameras, and I think the technology has come a long way. And something I really like is the current lineup of premium compacts on the market. So I know you own a premium compact, and I've recently bought something that I would consider to be a premium compact, despite it being interchangeable. But what do you have?
So I have a Fuji X100V.
Yeah.
And I think I mentioned this in last week's episode, so go check that one out. But otherwise, it's pretty much just like my fun camera. So basically, I just take it with me. I'm just going to take some fun images. Like I said, like in the last episode, I enjoy playing with the different film presets in it. Those are kind of a bit of a different experience. But otherwise, I like it because it's just a simple little handheld camera. You don't have to worry about lenses. You can still have full manual controls of it. but otherwise it's just a sort of run and gun camera, I guess.
It's I have to admit the Fuji one is a really cool camera. It looks really cool. I love that it's a 23mm lens.
Yeah.
Yeah, so I think it's a really cool lens on there as well. Sorry.
Yeah.
F2.
Little 23 f2.
Yeah. So I think that's a really cool lens. And I think I actually really like the film grade and stuff on it. And again, perfect example of technology, right?
Yeah.
So
exactly.
It takes a really good high quality image. It looks cool. It's kind of trendy. It has different film like grain effects on there. It's a really cool little camera. See, the one I use is I have bought the new ZFC from Nikon.
Okay. Yeah.
Again, looks really, really retro. I use it with a 28mm lens on there. It's a little bit more.
How do you find
crop. Yeah, I've only had it out playing with it because of lockdown once.
Yeah.
I think it's done like 3 photos outside, but I think it's sorry.
High shutter count.
Yeah, it's got a high shutter count. That's right. But the reason I like it is because it's an everyday kind of camera. Looks retro. It's going to be perfect for street. It's probably got as good EVF, if not one of the best EVFs I've seen on any mirrorless, and that includes other Z6 and Z6 II.
Oh, okay.
So I was just blown away with it. It looks cool. It feels good, and it's tiny. So I think that will probably become my kind of everyday kind of carry camera. If I go on family holiday trips, that will become that camera. But yeah, I consider that to be a premium compact, despite it having interchangeable lenses. I just think it's a phenomenal little camera.
Would you take a full kit of lenses with it?
No, I really think the 28mm or even maybe like a 16 to 50 if I really wanted a zoom lens on there or something.
Yeah.
But at the moment I'm happy with the 28mm on it. I think I'd probably do a bit of street with it in the future as well, once we can do street photography again with the restrictions here in Sydney. But yeah, I think it's a fantastic. Like if I was doing recon today, like I could have taken the ZFC quite comfortably.
Yeah. Yeah. No, that's cool.
But I just want to touch on one more thing just in regards to premium compacts. I think sometimes it doesn't really matter what the brand is. If it's film, if it's, a film one, a mirrorless one, even like a small DSLR. I think the idea about a premium compact is it's small enough for it to go everywhere with you.
Yeah, 100%.
I think sometimes people lose kind of sight of why they get into photography for, and it's because the camera is kind of a companion. And I've seen it with my own family and friends and stuff. They'll go out and buy a DSLR with, kit lenses and stuff, or zoom lenses, or airshow photographers do it a lot. They'll go buy the DSLR with a 200 to 500mm lens, and it just becomes too big to leave the house with it. So they'll go on holiday.
Right?
Yeah, they'll go on holiday, and it just gets left at home, and they'll use that little point and shoot. So that little, paying the extra for the premium compact, where people go, well, for that money, I can get a full DSLR kit. The premium compact for many people is actually the better buy because it's going to get used more.
Yeah.
So, and there's, the reason why they cost what they do, because they're getting a lot of bang for your buck.
Yeah.
But I think that's really critical to point out to people, like, don't be put off by the price tag of these premium compacts, because what you get, is every bit as much technology as some of the DSLRs have, some of the mirrorless cameras have, in a smaller, more compact body that you're going to use more probably.
Yeah, that's the thing, isn't it? And I think, like, these days people will kind of look at the price and they're going to go, well, I can buy a camera kit for that kind of cost, especially if you're looking at like sort of $1,500 or, anything more than $1,000 really, because I mean, you can kind of buy a camera or a DSLR or mirrorless kit for that amount.
Yes.
But you also got to remember that if you want something that's I think if you want something that has changeable lenses, then go with like a mirrorless body and lens, and you can sort of have a look at upgrading there. Whereas if you just want something that's handheld, you don't have to worry about lenses, you just chuck in your pocket and you're good to go. Then have a look at like your compacts. Yeah. I think most of them started at about $800 anyway for the decent ones. So like just go for them.
Yeah, and I think not everyone needs a DSLR or interchangeable lens camera.
No.
And the fact that you have to change lenses and stuff at times is a real kind of, I don't think some people get the most out of their cameras because what they wanted
It
was
can be
really that
double
premium
edged
compact.
sword.
Yeah.
Yeah, 100%.
All right. Well, look, we kind of covered everything we wanted to cover this week. Now we are thinking about doing like a Twitch, and maybe on that Twitch we can go through our kit while we picked each item for. So I think that would be interesting. Like, it's great to know what we have in our kits, but I think going right into it and going, well, I use this because of this reason would be really cool as well. But also, if people have questions and stuff, they can ask us live at the time. So 100%. We might look into that in the next coming couple of weeks. I need to say a big thank you to Chris Ko, who was on last week as a digital operator. He kind of really opened my eyes to another kind of field I never really considered in like the studio environment. So
yeah, 100%.
At those commercial level, digital operators and stuff, every bit as part of the creative process is what a photographer is. And in some cases they're more critical because they manage all the kind of files for the end of the day. So, if Chris wasn't good at his job, the files are gone. So, Chris, thank you again for coming on last week. We would love to have you back and be able to talk about Capture One again. I'm really interested in Capture One. I don't know about you, Chris, but it seems like a really cool program.
Yeah.
Get a bit more of a walkthrough of that, I think, and what he does with that and just his workflow, I think would be really cool.
Yeah, definitely.
That video is up on YouTube at the moment. Make sure you check out the photos of his setup as well. His setup is really cool. Have a look. If you have any questions, or when we get Chris back on and talk to him again, if there's anything you want us to ask or anything you want us to ask him, let us know. As always, guys, big thank you to you guys for watching. Make sure you hit the subscribe, ring the little bell if you get notifications. And as always, any questions, please feel free to reach out and let us know. But yeah, that's a wrap for this week, guys. Thank you again. Catch us later. See ya.
Next time.
Bye.
Yeah.